of Texas.
Oh, it's just another bunch of garbage. I mean, they're just going to keep indicting him. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. Yeah, the double standard in this country is pathetic.
News of the additional charges in the documents case came hours after lawyers for Trump met with members of the special counsel ahead of a potential indictment in a different case, that one being the January 6th Capitol riot investigation. In the last 2 days, two of the most senior U.S. senators were caught in what some might call a senior moment. On Wednesday, Senator Mitch McConnell appeared to freeze during a press briefing and was then led away by his colleagues. Another awkward situation took place yesterday. It has revived some theories about term limits, as we hear from Allison Cossack.
89-year-old Dianne Feinstein was called to vote, but instead began an awkward speech.
It provides $823 billion.
An aide comes to her side, interrupting her.
Just say aye. Okay, just aye.
After a bout of shingles and a 2-month-long absence, it was revealed the California senator suffered from encephalitis. Some Democrats are pressuring her to step aside sooner than January 2025.
There are more than a dozen members of Congress aged 75 and older, that being in the Senate, than more than 24 in the House. Entertainment news, tributes pouring in after the passing of a member of an iconic rock and roll band.
Randy Meisner played bass for the Eagles and sang. He was the lead on Take It to the Limit, which he co-wrote, and his voice and bass are in the mix on the Eagles' most popular songs, including Hotel California. Meisner co-founded the band with Glenn Frey, Don Henley, and Bernie Ledden in 1971, and he left in 1977. The band's skyrocketing success led to tensions and even a few punches. Meisner went solo, played with other groups, and he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Eagles in 1998. A statement from the band says he died from complications due to COPD. Randy Meisner was 77.
And that's Jason Nathanson reporting, and the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. My producer is not Mac Morey today. Mason is in the producer seat.
Good morning. Good morning.
What?
How we doing?
Where is Mac Morey?
He's sleeping in. No, I'm just kidding. I think he's moving today.
You got to do that on the weekend. Mac, if you're listening, tend to merits.
Work's important here.
Work is very important. Also, we got some big news. Biden, well, he's in trouble again. So as you know, that means we got another Trump indictment pending. We're still waiting to hear what is going to happen with the Jan 6 related indictment. And now special counsel Jack Smith on Thursday brought new charges against the former president, number 45, in the Mar-a-Lago White House documents case. So where are we at? Smith has charged Trump with 1 count of willful retention of national defense documents and 2 counts of obstruction. Never mind the fact that he can declassify anything as president. Pay no mind. It's funny to me, though, because the White House, whenever they're talking about the Hunter Biden case, they keep referring to the prosecutor as the Trump-appointed prosecutor. He's a Trump-appointed prosecutor in that case, giving the media the ammo that they need to frame it as political. Or, as Trump would say, it's a political witch hunt. That they're trying to give the media the ammo for that, right? Yes, I mean, it clearly it was Trump who made Hunter not file his taxes. But to the smooth-brained left-wing NPC, the non-player character that it just gets programmed by the media, that's exactly what they'll believe, that it's political. Because that's what the media will regurgitate on them, just like human centipede style. But when the White House is even asked about the Trump indictments, we're told and we're supposed to believe that the DOJ is independent and the Democrats in power have nothing to do with it. I mean, it sure sounds about right. Nothing political at all. I mean, if it was political, would they be going after Trump's valet or the Mar-a-Lago maintenance man? I mean, seriously. They're charging his valet, Walt Nada, who was previously charged in the first indictment, giving him 2 new obstruction-related charges, and Carlos de Oliveira, Mar-a-Lago's head of maintenance, with altering, destroying, mutilating, or concealing a document, making false statements, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Crazy. Yeah. So just, there was a grand conspiracy, and Trump stole classified documents from his time as president. And during said grand conspiracy to, I don't know, steal the nuclear secrets or sell them to Russia or whatever the media is going to go with, he knew that the only people that he could trust were his valet and maintenance man. You can't make this up. I'm waiting to hear what charges they're going to put on the pool boy. I feel bad for those poor guys. At this point, if you've ever even watched an episode of The Apprentice, the DOJ may want to have a word with you. I was talking to Mandis off air, and he brought up a good point. He says, they probably want those 2 to fold on Trump and to turn witness. And he said something to me that was it's so true. It's like, it's interesting though that the media would probably applaud that, yet still ignore the IRS and FBI whistleblowers. But where are we right now? Okay. So with the additional charges, Trump is now facing 40 counts in the criminal case. 40. Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung blasted the U.S. Department of Justice for the new charges. He called it continued desperate and flailing attempt by the Biden crime family and the Department of Justice to harass President Trump and those around him. Sounds spot on. Sounds on the nose. Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung went on to say, deranged Jack Smith knows that they have no case and is casting about for any way to salvage their illegal witch hunt and to get someone other than Donald Trump to run against crooked Joe Biden. Yeah, that's fair. Trump took to Truth Social last night to weigh in as well. I'm new to Truth Social. A lot of the listeners on the super text line were telling me to get on Truth Social, so you can find me there, as well as Twitter and Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. But Donald Trump took to Truth Social last night, as he often does, and he says, "Whatever happened to the crooked Joe Biden document case? He had 20 times more boxes than I did, and he wasn't covered by the Presidential Records Act. I was. When it first came out that Biden had all of these docs, many classified, almost everyone, including those on the left, said, there goes the case against Trump. But they waited and waited, got failed prosecutor deranged Jack Smith, and struck, but did almost nothing on the really bad Biden documents case, many stored in Chinatown." Well, I mean, Mr. President, we all know that case was different because they were in a garage near Biden's Corvette, so they're totally fine. Just a couple wonky boxes behind the Corvette. But in all seriousness, we learned that not only were the classified documents in the garage, but Hunter had access to them. And he had the house listed as an address, for his residence, while said documents were in the garage behind the Corvette. Okay. I don't bet. I'm not a betting man. But if I was, I would wager that sometime in between Hunter smoking Parmesan cheese, he may have thumbed through a document or two. And with what we've learned from the House Oversight Committee and the evidence coming out, I don't think it's a stretch to ask if those documents were left intentionally for influence peddling. I think that's a serious question, and I think it's one worth asking. And you know what? The New York Post drew that connection back in January. The New York Post reported Hunter Biden lived off and on at the Delaware home while he was addicted to drugs and striking shady foreign business deals. The now 52-year-old began listing the Wilmington home as his address following his 2017 divorce from ex-wife Kathleen Buell, even falsely claiming he owned the property on a July 2018 background check as part of a rental application. On May 13th, 2017, about 2 months before photos of Hunter Biden and the Corvette appear to have been taken, he was looped in on an email from business partner James Gillier about a venture with Chinese state-backed energy firm CEFC China Energy. Gillier's email said that he, Hunter, and 2 other business partners would get 20% shares in the new business, with 10% going to Hunter's uncle James, and the remaining 10%, as we all know, held by H for the big guy. So no charges pending for the big guy and his documents, but more charges for Trump. I saw a video on Instagram where they're barricading the courthouse in Fulton County, Georgia. Signaling more pending charges for the alleged Trump misdeeds there. And with all this going on, Alina Habba, Trump's spokesperson, had this to say on Newsmax last night regarding the impending Jan 6 indictment. There's so many indictments, it's hard to keep track.
The reality is what we've learned today was more effective from the press that got leaks from the DOJ than from the attorneys that were actually sitting with the DOJ. And that, folks, is literally all that America has become. And it's a terrible thing. When I, who was not in the meeting, am hearing leaks while the attorneys that are in meetings are talking to the DOJ, that's concerning to me. And that to me tells me that this is, again, a publicity stunt. And that's what America should realize. When the DOJ has a PR person putting statements out on Twitter about the status of a private grand jury investigation that should be confidential and breaking privilege, we are in a state of crisis, not because Donald Trump stood up and said, be peaceful and do something peacefully, but because our justice system is so corrupt from within and from the top that they can't see straight because they're so scared that Donald Trump might come in and clean house.
And she's absolutely right. All of these changes, I believe, are from a place of fear. Fear that he may finally be able to do what he set out to do. Dismantle the deep state. Bring law and order back to the justice system. Breitbart News is reporting in a recent poll what we all know, that these indictments won't hurt Trump. And even worse for the Democrats, they're going to help him. According to the poll, most likely voters do not believe the various political prosecutions will hurt former President Trump's 2024 prospects, a Rasmussen Report survey said on Thursday. So most 55% of those surveyed said the prosecutions will either help the former president or make no difference at all. 23% said it would help. 32% said it would not make any difference. So 55%. 35% overall said it will hurt Trump. Democrats remain far more confident that the political prosecution will hurt Trump. 48%. Nearly a quarter said it will not make a difference. Most Republicans and independents believe the political prosecutions will either help Trump or not make a difference. More via the survey, they said most who voted for Trump in 2020, 43% of those surveys don't believe the criminal charges will do anything. I mean, that's what we all know, right? And I also want to preface this with, I know, polls, we like them when they agree with us, and we call them fake when they disagree. But to be fair, before this poll was even out and before I even read the poll, I kind of felt that in my gut, that these things wouldn't make a difference. I mean, do you think this will hurt or help Trump? 615-737-9986 is the number to text in or call. Do you want to know my theory? I'd wager it went down something like this. And this is just my theory. Back in spring, Trump's people, I would wager, said he shouldn't take shots at DeSantis because at the time, DeSantis' popularity with GOP primary voters was at an all-time high. And I think that the Never-Trumpers probably thought that the sham indictments would hurt Trump. And then we would have seen DeSantis reluctantly emerge to run for the presidency and run with the support of Trump's base. Personally, I don't think Ron is who he says he is. And I think that him running for president would be, if he got the nomination, if those indictments did hurt Trump, he would have been installed to return the Republican Party back to pre-Trump positions, especially on foreign policy. And things would go back to normal. And I think two things ruined their plan. Trump didn't take the bait and basically came out blasting DeSantis as soon as anything went down. As soon as there were even rumblings that DeSantis might run, Trump started blasting him. And Trump blasting DeSantis caught everyone off guard, myself included. And the indictments not only haven't hurt Trump, but they've made him stronger. So now I think the old guard of the Uniparty is stuck in a box because their entire strategy relied on the indictments hurting Trump politically, and now they don't want to do. They don't know what to do. So the activist types want to go full steam ahead and keep seeking more indictments. And they want to keep doing that, political fallout be damned. But I think that some of the old guard in the Uniparty are starting to realize that this plan is failing miserably and probably want off the ride. I think the political elite of the Uniparty thought they could sell DeSantis as Trumpism without Trump. That's what they were going for. They wanted him to focus on the social issues. And they did a decent job for a little while. But as we all know, Trump's base is hip to the game. And they know that Trumpism is about immigration, foreign policy, and trade. And in those areas, my personal opinion, Ron DeSantis is indistinguishable from a Bush, a Paul Ryan, a Mitt Romney, or a John McCain. We're in a new Republican Party now, and I don't think that the train is slowing down anytime soon. 615-737-9986. If you want to join the conversation, call or super text in, and we can keep the conversation going off air. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, at Chris Hand on Air. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at USS. Now, I am new to WTN. I'm a couple weeks in, right? But I'm not new to USS. Like you, I've heard their commercials on Super Talk for years. And just last week, I got to sit down with the guys that work at USS. And this team, they're awesome. Nice guys, good people, honest, hardworking, and they're so proud of the work they do. And after all the rain we've been having, and now it's drying out, I mean, hey, if you're seeing standing water in your crawl space, if you got wet basement walls or cracks in your basement floors, your house is trying to tell you something. So you should listen to it. Give USS a call to check it out. 615-488-7855. With 25,000 satisfied customers, I'm confident that you'll be 25,001. And trust me, the team is so honest, so good, so kind, you won't be disappointed. They pride themselves on that. So call USS today for all of your needs. 615-488-7855 or USSTN.com.
Changes will be coming to the way military sex assault cases are investigated. One of the big automakers recalling some pickups, and another key reading on the economy out today. Details at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 927. We were talking about Donald Trump and how it seems like the uniparty, the old guard, is just not stopping, and they're going after him. I got Mary on line 1 at 615-737-9986. Mary, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mary. Hey, Mary, what's up?
Yeah, Chris, I love your show. So refreshing, and you are truly amazing, and I'm so glad they have you in this time slot. It's much, much needed.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, true professional. Just a short little saying. I love Trump, always have. I have 3 children. They all are amazingly Trump supporters and truly understand what's at stake in this country. I think his base is strong. I think the independents are coming towards Trump, and I feel that he can overcome all this, and I feel that he's going to be the next president, and we need someone to turn this country around. And I really feel that he's truly the man to take us to this journey the next 4 years. And that's all I have to say.
Well, I agree with just about everything you said, Mary, right up until the point about him being the next president. Like, while I would like him to be the next president, I don't know if that's 100% yet. But after all the attacks that we're seeing on this man, all the indictments, the political persecution, what are they going to stop at? Are they really willing to stop? I don't think that they're willing to let him win. And I think that they'll do anything to avoid that. 615-737-9986 is the number to call in or text. I'm getting a ton of good super text. 5037 said Trump is not a politician, and that's why these Democrats want him gone. They can't buy him. That is a good point. And I will point out, Trump is the only president in recent history that didn't take his salary from the White House, and he left the White House with less net worth than when he went in. Nobody else has done that. It's incredible, but they'll still vilify him every chance they get. 1833 said, Chris, you're right. That's why Fox was all in on DeSantis. Yep, and Fox is, as we know, run by Paul Ryan. When you can fire a guy like Tucker Carlson with no remorse, the highest rated show, you know that the network's been comped. Just my opinion. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the news.
9:30 on the dot this Friday, and I mean we are going to fry. Maybe some of us will boil. Dangerous heat and humidity combination going to make it feel like 110 degrees at times in Nashville, but everyone in Middle Tennessee is going to be breaking a sweat for sure today. Full forecast in 2 minutes. President Biden will sign an executive order on how the U.S. military handles sexual assault cases. This would have an independent prosecutor decide whether to prosecute such offenses. Ford is recalling more than 870,000 F-150 pickup trucks in this country because the electric parking brakes can turn on unexpectedly. And the Federal Reserve's favorite gauge of inflation showing the pace of price increases slowing last month. For the 12 months that ended in June, the Commerce Department's Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index rose 3% compared to 3.8% in May. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. And as you know, I'm a husband and I'm a father of 4. So you can imagine financial stability is a big priority for me. And as I have 4 kids, I have nightmares about how I'm going to be paying for weddings and college down the road if my kids decide to go to college. But after I met Paul Winkler, man, those fears, they've been alleviated. So I've been a listener to Paul's radio show since I moved to Nashville. And after meeting him and realizing that he's the same guy that I heard on the air, smart, honest, legit, man, I'm all in. And Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than's required. And because of that, the government, the regulators, they'll make me tell you that every time this spot airs, I get paid. But it was when I sat down with Paul and broke bread with him and had my financial questions answered that I decided to become a client myself. When you meet with Paul and his team, you can't help but be impressed. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. And with his team, nothing is done on commission. And they're big on education, which is huge for me. He's made my financial goals way more realistic by explaining what to do and why. The investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. You should check them out. Every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience, and you can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. You can set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com or 615-851-1950.
Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there
I just said no. I just answered.
They're not going to pardon Hunter Biden. Do you believe that? Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand, 938. Thanks for being here. It's hot outside. Climate change. So KJP was asked yesterday if Biden would pardon his son. And of course, she said no.
No.
Well, is there
I just said no. I just answered.
She said no. And I have to say, yes. Yes, he would. He may have to wait until after the election, but come on. That's the smartest guy Joe Biden knows. Also, it's his son. And just speaking as a dad, I mean, there are very, very few scenarios and very few crimes that if one of my kids committed, I wouldn't be willing to give them a pardon if I was the president. Just being fair. I mean, no matter what. I think a lot of parents would feel that way. I mean, I also wouldn't let my kids go down the, crack cocaine, Parmesan cheese smoking road to begin with, but that I still think that's a huge lie. Yes, Joe Biden would pardon his son. These press briefings are getting spicy. I do have a question for you, though, because I think that if Joe Biden was to pardon his son, the only trade-off would be he would have to walk away from the presidential election. So if the trade-off was Hunter Biden gets a pardon, but Joe Biden doesn't run for re-election, if that's the deal, would you go for it? Would you be fine with Hunter Biden getting a pardon if it meant Joe Biden doesn't run for re-election? 615-737-9986 if you want to weigh in on the phone lines or the super text line. Would you be willing to let Hunter Biden get a pardon if it meant Joe Biden stops running for president? I feel like that's a good question. And again, I want to drive the point home. The press briefings are getting spicy. The press seems to be asking more real questions, regardless of whether or not Cringe Jean-Pierre is willing to answer said questions.
The tax matter that had Hunter Biden in court in Wilmington yesterday, it had criminal information saying that he hadn't paid 1.2 to about 1.5 million in taxes owed. So my question is, number one, I know the president doesn't talk to him, you said, about his business, but was he aware at the time that he wasn't filing his returns in a timely fashion? And also, did he ever advise him to pay? Because Hunter testified in court that 1 year he was sober when he didn't file. So did they ever discuss the tax situation?
I'm not going to get into the specific of the case.
Does he think it might have
I've answered this question over and over again. Nothing has changed from the statement that I made yesterday. Nothing's going to change from the few times that I've gotten this question in the briefing room. We're not going to comment on this. This is an independent investigation that is being led by a Trump-appointed prosecutor, that is being led by clearly the Department of Justice, right? The prosecutors I just mentioned, and we're just not going to comment on this.
You mentioned DOJ. Does he have any concerns that the deal prosecutors put together fell apart and couldn't make it by a judge?
We're not going to comment on it.
They're just not going to comment on it, guys. It's a Trump-appointed prosecutor, so it's clearly politically motivated. No other comment other than what the left-wing media will read between the lines. So to recap, she was asked before that if the president would be willing to pardon his son for his crimes, and KJP said
no.
Well, is there
I just said no. I just answered.
So she said no. And I asked you on the super text line and the phone lines, would you be willing to let Hunter Biden get pardoned if it meant that Joe Biden walks away from running for re-election? And the super text line, I mean, they're coming in hot and heavy. No, says 1509. He'll just do it on his way out anyway, says 2660. No, jail Hunter, says JB. 4292 says no, Joe won't be reelected anyway. All right. 0505 says you do the crime, you do the time. Walter on line 2, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Walter, would you be willing to let Hunter Biden get pardoned if it meant Joe Biden doesn't run for re-election? Walter, you're on the line.
Hey, Chris, I think a lot of people have it wrong. They're not thinking. You trade off Joe Biden for Hunter. Well, yeah, trade him off. He's going to not do really any good time anyway. So you might as well pardon him and get rid of Joe. I mean, if that's the trade-off, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
I appreciate it. I understand the logic, Walter. Thanks for calling and thanks for listening, my man. I appreciate you. Billy in Gallatin, if the trade-off was Hunter Biden gets pardoned and Joe Biden walks away from the presidency, would you take that deal?
No, with double hockey sticks.
No. Why not?
Time just like the rest of us.
What's that?
He needs to serve time just like the rest of us would have to.
But even if he gets charged, do you really think he's going to serve hard time?
No, not really. But,
no, I think he would be in one of those comfy Ghislaine Maxwell prison cells.
Well, of course he would.
Yeah. So, but you'd be fine with him, like, so say that Biden runs and say, God forbid, he wins. You would take that and Hunter being prosecuted.
No, Joe needs to serve time too because he's done a lot of stuff.
Hey, I can't say I disagree with you, Billy. Thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. All right, 4682 texted in and said, no parent let their child get involved with cocaine. I agree. I didn't say I would let my kids go down the road that Hunter Biden went down. I just said that there would be very few crimes that I wouldn't be willing to pardon them for because they're my kids. So I would understand, just from a father's point of view, why Joe would pardon Hunter. And I don't believe KJP when she says that Joe isn't willing to pardon Hunter.
No.
Well,
I just said no. I just answered.
I mean, she said no. The answer's no, at least for now. I mean, the answers always change. 3886 texted in and said, Joe Biden is finished no matter what. No pardon. I cut through all the foreplay. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Appreciate it. 5201 says, Republicans need to lay off Biden. We want him to run. 5201 coming out of Kentucky with a fire comment. Yes, you're right. I think Joe Biden is probably our best chance. Let him run. Let the man run. Again, these press conferences, they're getting fun. They're getting lots of fun. KJP is not answering the hard questions.
Follow up on Hunter. Is the president concerned that his son's legal challenges will continue to take attention away from the White House now that this plea deal has fallen apart?
I'm just not going to speak to the politics of this. I'm not going to speak to characterize any of this for the president. What I can say is that, and I've said this before, this is a personal matter. This is Hunter Biden, as you know, is a private citizen, and this was done in an independent way. This investigation is being led by a Trump-appointed prosecutor.
Oh.
And so the Department of Justice is independent. We give them the space to be independent, and we respect the rule of law. I'm just not going to get into details of characterizing.
Has he spoken to Hunter?
I'm just not going to speak to any private conversation that the president has with his family.
She's just not going to speak to it, guys. Hunter's a private citizen. Every private citizen gets Secret Service security detail for their court date for tax evasion. Stop asking questions. We the taxpayers, we can fund the ride with Secret Service to his court date for his criminal hearing, but don't ask questions. We're not allowed to get answers for that. But I will translate what Karine Jean-Pierre said a second ago. Yeah, the White House knows that this is going to take all the attention. It is taking all the attention. Even left-wing media can't ignore this anymore. So yeah, the White House knows. And KJP, she doesn't need to answer about this personal matter, right? We all have eyes to see, but she drops it again that this is a Trump-appointed prosecutor. They're slowly shifting that narrative. This is all going to be Trump's fault soon. This is all going to be politically motivated. But the question I posed is, would you take a deal of pardoning Hunter Biden if it meant Joe Biden would not run for re-election? David in Columbia, you're on Super Talk 99.7. Would you take that deal, David?
Heck yeah, I'd take that deal. I mean, honestly, if Hunter was my son, I'd pardon him, and he's going to be pardoned anyway. He's not going to serve any time. Get rid of Joe Biden. He is the worst thing that's happened to America, and I'm a history buff, as far as I can remember. I mean, it's a disaster out here. I'd take that deal. Give Hunter a mansion. Give him all.
I think I would take that deal as well. But you said you were a history buff. What do you think the odds are that this pardon could happen?
I mean, if Biden, it would happen. I think he'll do it. I mean, for some reason, I mean, if I was Joe Biden, I would distance myself from my son. I love him, but I'd distance myself.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he keeps him close, and it's weird. But I think he would definitely pardon him.
Well, I don't think it's weird he keeps him close. It's the smartest guy he knows.
Of course he is. Yeah, he's so smart. He's so smart. He can't even find his laptop.
He's a genius. I mean, what if you think about all the deals he's orchestrated? He's pretty shifty, pretty smart.
Well, to be honest, I mean, he's made more money than I have, so I can't knock him for that.
He's doing so, and he's done all that with an addiction problem.
He's got his hands tied, left hand tied behind his back. He's doing all right, I guess.
Hey, man, more power to him. Thanks for the call, David. I appreciate it. 615-737-9986. Would you take the deal? Would you let Hunter Biden be pardoned if it meant that Joe Biden would walk away from the White House and from running for re-election? 3335 said, heck no, we want Sleepy Joe to run again. 1631 said, no, Joe's not going to win and Hunter's going to the Gray Bar Hotel. That was 1631. Listen, I don't disagree with you, 1631, but, even if Hunter Biden does get prosecuted, even if he does go to jail, it's going to be like one of those cushy Swedish prisons with, 300 thread count sheets. Granted, I wouldn't be surprised if the cameras malfunctioned and he used those sheets for other purposes, but he's not going to, state penitentiary, federal maximum security penitentiary, even if he does face time for this. I would be tempted to take the deal if it meant Joe Biden would walk away. But I also see the other side, that it makes a lot of sense for Joe to run again because our odds are better if Joe Biden is the one running. No matter who the Republican nominee is, it's going to be good if Joe Biden's running. I could go either way. 615-737-9986. My name is Chris Hand. It is 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Find me off air, online, at Chris Hand on Air. I'm on Truth Social, Twitter, Instagram. I'm everywhere. Keep the conversation going when we get off air. Follow me. I'll follow back. And don't forget, August 15th, join me, Dan Mandis, Brian Wilson, Matt Murphy, Pamela Furr, Johnny B. Super Talk Live. We can talk about all these fun issues in person. J Street Korean Bar and Grill. Another Super Talk Live event, August 15th. Tickets online, 997WTN.com. Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. And I said a minute ago, I'm a husband and I'm a father. So financial stability is important. The thoughts of paying for 2 weddings in college for possibly 4 kids has me up at night. I'm thinking about that a lot. But I actually recently got to meet Paul Winkler. And just to let you know, Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. And because of that, the government regulators require that I tell you that I'm paid every time this commercial airs. But when I got to meet Paul and he explained how I can save for those weddings and those possible college bills, and he did it honestly and soundly, I was sold and I decided to become a client myself. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. Plus, with Paul and his team, they don't do anything on commission. So they're doing things in your best interest. They're big on education, and that means a lot for me because I want to know what we're doing with my money. He's made my financial goals way more realistic by explaining what to do and why. The investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. You got to check these guys out. Every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience, and I know there's an office near you. You can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Experience equals confidence, and that team is experienced. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or you can kick it old school and call 615-851-1950.